Good afternoon, UNCA students and our faculty and staff colleagues. Thank you for joining this town hall today. We appreciate the opportunity to answer many of the questions that you have submitted to the best of our ability. The coronavirus pandemic and all of its uncertainties is upending our lives in very disorienting and challenging ways. We're moving to online instruction, which we have just done successfully over the last 2 days, with the help of our faculty over the last 2 weeks. Students have moved out of our residence halls, and we are working very clearly with our, to reduce our group contacts by doing proper social distancing. Many of us are worried now about difficult and complicated care for family and friends. We are still continuing our community engagement wherever possible in the city and the region to find ways to support those in need in our area, and yet we are still also trying to find new ways to admit and welcome our class of 2024 first-time first-year students and our transfer students. All of these things are important, and all of these things have been disorienting to many of us. In the midst of all of this, our UNC Asheville faculty have shown deep care for our students and for the preservation of our academic mission by moving their teaching and their labs and their learning objectives to online access as our spring semester moves along. Our faculty's determination, innovation, and sacrifice are the hallmarks of our UNC Asheville academic community, and I am deeply appreciative to each and every faculty member who has worked long and hard to shift their learning pedagogy and teaching styles to the online platform. Likewise, our students who love the vitality and uniqueness of this special university have begun to adapt to this new virtual learning opportunity, and they have also been tolerant and resilient as policies have been put in place to ensure that the health and safety of our academic community is first and foremost. Our students have been saddened by the postponing of graduation that I can assure you for the class of 2020 will happen just now at a time to be determined. Our students have persisted in their heartfelt efforts to think about a wider frame, to ensure that those in need in our city and our region have their needs met through whatever ways we can do so as a university. Further, our staff colleagues in areas such as information technology, campus police and emergency operations, student life, our registrar's office, academic affairs and our deans, our admission and financial aid team, and dining and even physical plant have all been leaning together to create useful and innovative support systems for our faculty, staff, and students during this difficult and very uncertain time. I am deeply appreciative to watch in real time the action of all of these faculty, staff, and our students around our deeply held university values. Values such as resilience, attention to high-quality academic effort, courage, innovation, and sheer hard work. We are all in this together. It is challenging our humanity and our culture in many ways, but we as an institution will persist and we will prevail. I am also deeply grateful to the UNC system leaders, especially Interim President Dr. Bill Roper, his staff, and the Board of Governors for their dedicated and tireless leadership as we address the extremely complicated issues to support our universities in this time of crisis. Now it is time to address some of the 125 questions that you submitted through the Google platform. Today, we are sharing and responding to you with what we know right at this moment in time, aware that the conditions and the situation is rapidly evolving, sometimes even day to day. and we promise to have a future town hall in the coming weeks to keep you up to date with policies, procedures, putting the health and safety of our community as the highest priority. Together with me today, safely socially distancing apart, are my colleagues Provost Kai Campbell, Vice Chancellor for Student Life Bill Haggard, our Vice Chancellor for Human Resources, Institutional Equity, and Legal Affairs, Heather Parlier. I will now begin to read some of the questions and provide some answers to the university-related questions we received. Then we'll move to Provost Campbell. We'll move on to Vice Chancellor Haggard and Vice Chancellor Parlier. First question was, will there be reimbursements for tuition, housing, dining, parking fees, etc.? This will be determined by the UNC system, and we have been told by Interim President Roper and his colleagues that all of these matters, once we can assure proper social distancing and health and safety concerns are addressed, all of the refund matters will be considered by the UNC system sometime during April, so we will know soon. Second question, will current buildings like the academic classrooms and our libraries remain closed through the end of April? Yes, they will. Access to our buildings is a way to protect our community now and in the future. We still are allowing access to Highsmith Union during the day for the students who are on campus and for students who want to visit at that time. Another question, do you foresee the campus being shut down? I do not foresee that at this time. We are open, and though we have moved our academic platforms and teaching to the online experience, we look forward to a time when we can gather again once we are assured of health and safety matters having been addressed properly. Do you believe we will run summer school in Maymester this year? We feel that the responsible thing to do is to plan to have our academic community regathered for summer session and even for Maymester. But we also must be responsible, planning given what we know about the virus, that if it does scale further, then we must be prepared to stay in the online teaching mode through Maymester and through the summer school. Be assured, we are planning for both eventualities, and we will respond to what is best for our faculty and our students. Will there be remote options for summer classes if the situation continues? Yes, there will be, but we are uncertain about that at this time and are monitoring key indicators about the virus itself. Will fall 2020 semester classes be online for the duration of that semester? Similar to the question about summer and Maymester, we are planning at this time to return to our normal operations and regather as an academic community as soon as possible. But we must be monitoring what happens with the virus and the advice of leading health and governmental authorities before we can confirm that. So our intention is to be back up and going as soon and quickly as we can be. Next question, how can we ensure we as an educational institution focuses appropriately on accessibility within our education, especially now during a crisis? How will we continue to prioritize accessibility once we are beyond the pandemic? We are in a mode of continual critique and improvement at this time. We are doing things to the best of our ability and believe that each lesson that we learn is an opportunity to do it better next time. It is true that accessibility for those differently abled is a high priority at this institution. We can do it better now, and we can do it better when we are beyond the pandemic. We will be working closely with campus leaders, both faculty and staff, to address these issues in a continual improvement way. Is the university considering allowing the empty classrooms and campus to be used for medical workers or sick people if the local hospitals become overwhelmed with sick patients or a homeless population? This is a decision that would need to be decided by the local authorities in conversation with state and regional authorities. It is not ours to make. While we stand ready to assist in any way, that decision would be beyond the bounds of campus. What will be done to make sure students who do return, either for summer courses or in the fall of 2020, to ensure health and safety? Put very bluntly, health and safety of our academic community is now and always has been our highest priority. That said, students will not return until we can guarantee that this is a completely safe and healthy environment in which to learn and do our co-curricular activities. What policies are you putting in place to address an event like this, should it ever happen again? Once again, our emergency operations leaders are in a program of helping with immediate needs and answering questions about policy and process, but we are in a continual critique and continual improvement mode. Next, is there a way to have email announcements related to COVID-19? Have it designated other than faculty officials so they don't get lost with all the other emails. Updates are posted hourly and certainly daily to the coronavirus.unca.edu website. Do you foresee the campus being shut down? My answer is no. We are operating as openly as we can given the constraints of the virus, and we will continue to monitor this in every way. Commencement. I know this has been a point of great disappointment, worry, and sadness for our students, particularly our seniors. Some have asked, can we walk during December graduation? When and will we still get our cap and gowns? If we graduate in May, will our degrees be mailed to us? I would ask for some time to consider all of the various options and tailor those to best meet the quality and the culture that we have here at UNC Asheville. We'll be in conversation with alumni, with current students, and certainly with our faculty and staff. Graduation will happen at a time to be determined as soon as possible. Let me now introduce our Provost Kai Campbell, who will answer questions regarding academic affairs. Kai?
Thank you. The first question, can you please extend the drop period to drop classes we won't be able to pass online and not make it count against the 3 drops we get? There is in fact a policy and the system has just issued new guidance on this, affirming that you will have until 2 weeks after the semester ends, after grades are in order to drop classes, to withdraw from classes, and they will not count against the limits due to these extenuating circumstances. Similarly, other universities in the UNC system in North Carolina have gone to optional pass-fail classes grading. Will UNC Asheville do the same? We are actively investigating this. We anticipate being able to say something more concrete, but this is the direction in which we are moving and do expect to make an announcement on that, hopefully by this week. How are you aiding 3-dimensional art courses such as ceramics or the STEAM studio during this transition? And there's a similar question, are local music students with no practice space other than Lipinski Hall practice rooms going to be able to utilize said practice space at any time? This question, along with the many questions that are related to this, having to do with labs, having to do with other kinds of engagement, we are really leaving these questions up to the individual faculty, to individual courses, to really work out what the opportunities for continuing the experience, what they look like. We do know that some departments, like the music department, has some equipment that is available for folks to take out if they are here on campus and can get access to those spaces. There are instruments that can be loaned out or collected at least. The studios may have some available resources, but we are not opening up spaces for continued use even if you are here locally. Will attendance at online classes be counted? The hope is that we are taking attendance. We are looking for students to continue to stay engaged. One thing that I would point out is that as we move to remote instruction, folks are thinking about not only synchronous, but also asynchronous opportunities to continue the experience. And so, it is the case that in some instances, attendance will look a little different, but we are hoping to continue to measure and seek engagement of students in these courses. What consideration is being given to those who simply cannot learn effectively via online instruction? Essentially, all of the faculty are doing their very best to understand that these differences they span a spectrum. Many will be very used to this, have had experience, and enjoy doing online learning. Others will have much greater difficulty. Faculty are aware of this spectrum. They're really looking to connect with students and to help them bring along. As a kind of fail-safe, we are part of the reason for thinking about the grading differently, allowing for the kind of pass-fail option and this post-grade withdrawal option. There are some fail-safes to allow students to think of this moment as an opportunity to try it, to give it a go, as it were. And so we hope that students can really give it their best try, and if it doesn't work out, there's this opportunity to not have it count. Can there be an established policy for any assignment deadlines, if any exist? Some students are under a great amount of stress at this time, and assignments may be difficult to focus on. We understand this, where I have encouraged all faculty to really engage students about how they're going through this stressful moment. And to have as much understanding as possible. We know that you, the students, and your families, and the faculty as well, this is a very tough time in many ways, and we're not sure how this will play out in the next few weeks or months. And so we are encouraging complete and total understanding and to take each case as it comes. What do students need to do if final exams or presentations are needed in person on campus? This should not be the case. We are asking that all instruction continue to be remote. There should be no requirement for anyone to be on campus for any assignment or for any exam. What that will look like in the end, we are looking into online proctoring, online changing of assignments from exams to something else. There are a host of different things that we're investigating, but there should be no requirement for any student to come to campus. If you find that you're hearing that, let us know at the Provost office, and we can have a discussion about how we can work through that. And then, can students still return rental textbooks in the bookstore in person? And do we still need to turn library books in that are due for our library? And what about interlibrary loan books? Right now, we're looking, so the deadline for returning books both to the bookstore for rentals or books to the library, but we're hoping we can even avoid that by extending the deadline all the way through to the fall. So look out for more information about that. When is the last day of classes? Right now, we anticipate the last day of classes being the same. We don't anticipate any extension of the semester, and so that the last day of classes, the reading day, and the exam period all stay exactly as it has been. For now, that is the case, and if there are any changes to that, we will certainly notify you. And by the end of this week, we should be able to definitively say it is not going to change. It is the last day as it was to begin with. Are faculty members recording their virtual Zoom courses? Is it possible for the Office of Admission to collaborate with faculty who are recording and showcase these courses to prospective students? There may be times when faculty are recording. We are asking every faculty member who is looking to explore that possibility to make sure that they're checking in with the students and getting permission and allowing for students to opt out of being recorded. This is an important component of permission, and we want to make sure that that's happening. It very well may be the case that we have some good examples of things that we want to showcase, and we will look into that. But right now, the most important thing is that everyone is adjusting to this new mode and is feeling comfortable about being in these spaces, in these new spaces for many of us online. And so that is our primary priority at this moment. There are faculty members willing to let prospective students sit in on their courses virtually. Is that possible? We have an opportunity to engage students digitally and would love to collaborate in this area, especially since all of our big on-campus recruitment events are canceled. We certainly want to hear from faculty and others who are interested in doing this. We welcome this as an opportunity and think it would be wonderful to allow prospective students to sit in. So if faculty are interested in this, please contact me and Sarah Broberg and Shannon Earl, and we can figure out how to make that happen. And with that, I'll turn it over to Student Life and to my colleague, Bill Haggard.
Thank you, Provost Campbell. Good afternoon. I would like to begin by saying thank you to our students and their families for their patience and flexibility as we have been moving through this rapidly changing situation together. There have been several questions about our on-campus housing, so I'm going to start with those questions first. And before I get to those questions, I would like to share with you the guidance we received from the UNC System Office related to on-campus housing. We received guidance to instruct our students who occupy our university housing to remain at or to return to their permanent residences unless granted an exception by the institution. We were also given guidance to establish an exception process with appropriate health screening that allows students to remain in university houses if they establish a legitimate and significant need to do so. And last, we were given guidance to reduce our campus dining options to takeout or similar options. So that's what we've been involved in for the last week or so, and I will get to the questions. The first question is, when can students come to campus to get their belongings from the residence halls, and how will that process work? Also, will there be any help provided during a move out, like carts that are used for move-in? So on Friday afternoon, March 20th, there was an email that went to all resident students that provided the information necessary for you to move your belongings out of the residence halls. We asked that you return a Google form survey that included you requesting a specific time to do your moving out of your belongings from the residence hall. We got tremendous quick response to that survey, and we were very, very grateful. But there are still a few of you that haven't responded yet, so I encourage you to check your email, look for an email from reslife@unca.edu, and please respond to that. So we started today, and the period will begin today and end next Friday, April 3rd, and each day there will be three-hour windows for people to come and move their belongings out of the residence halls. The reason we have spread this out over these 2 weeks, and the reason we are assigning people to particular time periods, is to ensure the social distancing that's necessary to help us mitigate the spread of this virus. So thank you for your patience with that. Once you get here, there will be a staff member waiting outside of the residence hall that will give you information that you need, and you have been requested to have only one person come with you to help you move out. Again, that's for the purpose of ensuring the social distancing that's necessary to follow our CDC guidelines. And we believe that it would be much safer for you to come with a person that you are possibly already living with and being with than to have a stranger or someone else helping move out of the residence hall. Yes, the carts will be available, and you will receive direction when you arrive on where those carts are available. And since it will be you and one other person moving out, we will be patient with you as you move out during your assigned time period. Again, we are trying to match your requests with the times that are available. So thank you for your cooperation with that. If you have any further questions about that, you may call our housing office at 828-251-6700 or email reslife@unca.edu. Next question, what are UNC Asheville's plans for students who may need to continue to stay on in the residence hall? As the guidance was from the UNC system, we have created an exception process. We have approved a small number of exceptions for very extenuating circumstances that may have been related to health or to the health of family members or to homelessness or to other hardship situations that a student or a family may have. International students without an ability to get home and other particular cases like that. We've reviewed each case personally with personal conversations with the student involved, and we have made some exceptions. So that opportunity was granted. The opportunity for future exceptions would be very, very rare, because if we were to grant future exceptions, we would be bringing someone back into the community who has been in another community, and that would continue to jeopardize the safety of this particular community related to the virus. But if you have any questions, please contact the housing office, as I mentioned earlier. Also, a question of how will we get our mail before next semester. So the mail center in Highsmith Union is open weekdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you wish to try to get your mail on the weekend, Highsmith is open from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. and you can check in at the information desk on the main floor. What we are asking you to do is, when you come back to get your belongings, to please stop by the mail center and get your mails and any mail and any packages that may be waiting for you. We're also asking that you please go to usps.com, to that Postal Service website, to change your address or to forward your mail to a different address. We also ask that you please update your online orders or any shipping of any orders you may have, and if it's still possible, to redirect those orders to your permanent address or to wherever you are living right now. And for those of you who are coming in to check out in the next 2 weeks, if you can, please return your mailbox key. If for some reason you're not returning to campus, but you are expecting to return to campus in the fall, we are allowing you to keep your key over the summer, and you will still have that next fall. If you have any questions like that, about that particular issue, again, please contact Highsmith Union. Next question. When the time is right, would it be at all possible for the residence halls to remain open? Even if classes stay online, it would make the entire situation much easier to at least be able to meet up with some classmates. Actually, the actions we're taking are to ensure that you do not meet up with your classmates in person. And that is very difficult for you. It's difficult for all of us to be in this social distancing situation. But as I mentioned earlier, until this crisis passes, it will be a very, very rare occurrence if we allow someone who has lived off campus already to return back into our residence halls until we receive different guidance. Next question, will there be summer housing available? Again, as the Chancellor mentioned earlier, summer instruction is still yet to be determined how that will be delivered. I can predict that if instruction is not delivered in person, that there will not be the opportunity to live on campus. But again, we will follow a UNC system guidance on that matter. There was a question about the Governor's Hall fitness room and the closing of that fitness room. Would it be possible to reopen? We have closed our fitness center in the Sherrill Center, and we have closed the 2 small residential fitness rooms, one in Governor's Hall and one in Chestnut Hall in the Woods. The reason is because of the nature of that activity is one where there's a lot of personal physical contact with machines, and it's very difficult to keep those machines clean and appropriately clean in between usage. But also particularly the small fitness room in Governor's Hall and in Chestnut Hall. Those are unsupervised areas and they're smaller rooms, and therefore the density of the population would increase the risk of sharing the virus. And also there would not be the appropriate supervision to make sure the machines were clean and that the appropriate social distancing was kept among participants. So because of that, I regret to say we will not be able to reopen the small fitness room in Governor's Hall. Next question, will my car get towed if I leave it on campus? If you have a permitted vehicle and it's in a permitted lot, your vehicle will not be towed. If you have any questions or concerns about that, you can call the Public Safety Office at 828-251-6710. Talk to the switchboard and they will direct you to the appropriate public safety staff member who can answer that question for you. But if you have a permitted vehicle that is parked in a permitted lot, you do not have to worry about your vehicle getting towed. And also, those lots are being patrolled regularly by our campus police, and some of those lots have security cameras to also ensure the safety of your vehicle. Next question, does the university have any advice for finding employment in these times of COVID-19? I have been in communication with the director of our Career Center, Lisa Mann, and Lisa assures me that the staff is working remotely and is responding to requests and is delivering many of their regular services, not only for your future career, but for your immediate need for work. Lisa Mann advises me that to please continue to look on Handshake for available jobs. And if you have other questions, you may contact the Career Center at career@unca.edu, and they would be glad to help guide you and point you in the right direction to help you seek employment during this time. Those are the extent of our questions related to student life right now, and I will turn it over to Vice Chancellor Carlier to speak about employment issues.
Thank you. I first want to reiterate Chancellor Cable's thanks to all of our faculty and staff and students who have been working so hard during this time, and thank you for all of the questions you've already sent to Human Resources. Please continue to reach out with any questions you have about specific employees or your own specific situation. We're happy to answer any of those. There's a number of questions that I think I can answer with one answer. So we have a question about how we can best support our student employees who have lost wages based on cancellations and closures. There's a question about whether staff will be able to continue to be paid, particularly with respect to K through 12 school being remote until May 15th, and people who have child care needs. So the state of North Carolina has given us permission to pay paid administrative leave. So that's a different type of leave than we've ever had available to any of our employees before. And this paid administrative leave is available to all of our permanent employees, our temporary employees, and our student employees. So this is a unique type of leave. It's available to anyone, any of those three types of employees who are either experiencing symptoms potentially related to the coronavirus, if they're caring for a dependent with those types of symptoms, people who are in high risk categories, which the CDC has defined, or who are a caregiver to somebody who's in one of those high risk categories. We also can give paid administrative leave to people who have child care or elder care needs, if there's a facility closing or a school closing, or if an employee who is not designated as a mandatory employee, if they cannot perform their work remotely, then this paid administrative leave is available to them. We are preparing a communication to campus to explain how to take that leave and how that will technically work, so please keep an eye out for that. Next question is, will staff continue to work remotely through the end of the semester or through the end of April? As Chancellor Cable has said, Provost Campbell and Vice Chancellor Haggard, this is a fluid situation, and our focus is on keeping the the safety of our campus community intact, and so that is why we are asking everyone who can work remotely to do so. It's really to ensure that social distancing to keep our campus community safe. We will let you know as soon as we know when it's safe for us to all come back to work and physically be together. Will staff continue to work from home and still be paid? Again, if you are working from home and you're doing your work, you are going to continue to be paid. I will also tell you all that we have in both finance and in human resources as the two main offices responsible for payroll on this campus. We have done exercises and worked to make sure we have redundancies so that if there is an order to shelter in place or to quarantine or if people get sick, that we know we can continue to process payroll so that people will get paid. The next question is, can mandatory employees work remotely or do they need approval by their supervisor? If you are a mandatory employee or if you don't know if you're a mandatory employee or not, please talk to your supervisor. That is a case-by-case situation. We're trying to be really flexible and work in very intentionally with respect to mandatory employees and making sure that people feel safe and feel accommodated. Next question is, what impact will this have on salaries and security of employment, and are people at risk of being laid off? We're making every effort to ensure we enroll a full class for fall 2020. We're making every effort to make sure that we are as Chancellor Cable said, we are open. We're providing classes online. Many of us are working really hard to make sure the university stays open and stays a healthy and safe place. Question about the current situation of employees such as housekeepers, other facility workers who are not able to do their job from home. Many of those employees are mandatory employees, and we do have students living on campus. We do have, as Chancellor Cable said, the campus is open. So we have folks who are mandatory employees in those categories who are coming to work. We're really grateful to them. I'm working really closely with their supervisors. They all have my cell phones, and we're talking almost every day about how we make sure that those employees are supported, how we can switch them out if people are feeling fatigued, or if they have situations come up in their personal life where they need to take some time off. So we are working very closely with those areas on that. Another question, are staff allowed to share or donate their time if someone has run out of time, similar to medical leave reasons? Right now, we have this paid administrative leave. I didn't say, and I should have said, we have access to that leave until March 31st. We're waiting for the state to just make a decision about what that will look like post March 31st. And as soon as we know, we'll be disseminating this information to the campus. If or when that runs out, then we will look at shared leave possibilities, particularly with respect to people who might be sick. And if you have questions about any of those leave types, if you go to the coronavirus at the UNCA page, there's a frequently asked questions page titled Employees, and all of that information is there as well. The last question under the Human Resources thread is, would you please use this format to provide a list of resources for students, faculty, and staff who might be food or housing insecure? Thank you for that question, and we did compile a list, and we're going to put that on our coronavirus website. Thank you.
So we do have some additional questions from the Facebook feed. Provost Campbell, could you please repeat the information about library books?
So right now, the library is extending the deadline at least through the end of May, but we're also looking at extending the due dates through to September 1. The one, so that's for our own books. For books that are part of interlibrary loan, right now we're handling those on a case-by-case basis, but we're looking to extend that deadline as well. That involves many other libraries, and so that may take some time. And I just need to talk with our head librarian about how we make sure that we can do that. So look for more information about that as soon as possible.
Another question for academic affairs. How is the university handling the various needs of out-of-state students regarding attending class and managing all of the other items they have to deal with at this time?
So that's a great question, and let me just say that one particular aspect of this that we are certainly very aware of is that people will be operating from different time zones, perhaps. International students, students on the West Coast, students all over, and in addition, even with our own students who are local, going home, there are other things going on. There's just a lot to manage at this moment, and so here again, we're asking faculty to handle this on a case-by-case basis, to be very understanding of these different circumstances. I hope that answers the question, but certainly we're looking for creative ideas about how we handle all of those kinds of various situations.
A question for Vice Chancellor Parlier. Does paid administrative leave apply to federal work-study students?
That's a really good question. We have gotten a lot of questions about federal work-study students. We've gotten guidance from the federal government, from the Department of Education, that federal work-study students will continue to be paid. So the funding will be coming from that. However, the tracking will look like the paid administrative leave, and again, we're working on a message. We're doing some testing before we send that message out on the mechanics, but federal work-study students will continue to be paid.
Thank you. Another for Provost Campbell. Could you please reiterate the comments about the PassFail option?
So right now, there are many institutions. So the way this question came to us here, we know that many other institutions are thinking about this. We've looked at all of those policies that have already been issued or are actually in deliberations at other institutions and in fact across the country. Where we are right now is that we're not yet in a position to say you will have a pass-fail option. But that is the direction in which we are moving. We are talking about that, and I'm hoping that sometime during the course of this week, we'll be able to say more definitively exactly what that policy would look like. And let me just, I'll go even further. The particular option that we've talked most about, I would say, is the idea of a credit / satisfactory grade. That grade would not be declared by students on a course-by-course basis up to some period after the grades have been reported. That option would, if exercised, if a student elects to take a course into the no credit / satisfactory mode, would not count in their GPA, and so that is actually something that needs to be factored in. There are some courses and some students for whom a course needs to be satisfied, needs to count towards a GPA, and so that is a determination that the student will be able to make. Right now, that is a policy that we're thinking about. There's still a lot to work through. And there's some details I'm not sharing right now, but we're hoping to be able to share fully what that would look like very soon.
Thank you. Another question for Human Resources. Could you reiterate the impact this situation may have on salaries and security of employment?
So right now, the security of our employment remains the way it was. Salaries, I think we all in this video chat know that we haven't had any salary increases this year. I don't anticipate that's going to change right now. What we're really focused on is keeping the work of the university moving forward.
There are no additional questions.
We will host another town hall in the coming weeks, perhaps within the next week or two. And a recording of this virtual town hall will be made available shortly on our website. And in closing, on behalf of all of us, this is a time that we believe we should come together even more closely as an academic community, though we are physically farther apart. Our university traditions of kindness, empathy toward each other and those in our Asheville and Buncombe County and regional communities, and our notable and historic collective resilience as a university will help bring us together in the spirit of shared humanity during these very difficult, very complicated, and in some ways very anxious times. It will bring us together around a spirit of shared humanity, which is what the core of our academic mission really is all about. So during these uncertain times, stay in touch, ask questions. Let us be of support to you as you're going through whatever you and your family are facing. This will pass, and we will persist, and we will prevail. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate you being with us. Thank you.